everybody, welcome to tonight's live. Hi, Lane. Oh my gosh, everybody's here. Coming in, coming in. Sophia's here. Sorry I surprised you guys last night. I just kind of popped in a little impromptu. That was kind of fun. Just kind of answered some questions. No real agenda, just kind of hanging out. And I know some of you, my regular tribe, were like, "Where? What? I didn't know. Am I late?" So we are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays now. But every once in a while, I'll just pop in. Hi, Jan. Thank you. I'm so much better. Oh my gosh, it's like I just don't even know where all the mucus comes from. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it's like what 2.5 weeks out now, and it's like still just all this stuff. Like, can't even. Yeah, driving to work this morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like still like goopy. It's yucky, and everybody's sick. It's nuts. I mean, I'm getting so many calls into the office, and people are sick, and just craziness. You guys put in the comments if you've been sick. Anybody else been like struggling with stuff? Oh my gosh, I'm looking for a place to put my tea bag. Hang on. Okay, we're gonna get started here really quick. I'm just kind of waiting a few more minutes till the usuals get in. The usuals. The tea is nice. Okay. All right. Let's jump in. Let's jump in. Okay. So menopause is crazy. Perimenopause is crazy. I had a dream that I got a cold. Oh no, Elaine, that's no good. We're going to talk about weird dreams that come with hormone changes too. Hi, Mary. Okay, so weird, wacky stuff that happens with menopause. And, I'm always talking about our hormone kits. And when you fill out your hormone kit, when you send it in, like all the crazy symptoms on here. So I thought tonight I would talk about all the weird, crazy symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. And perimenopause is just that 5 to 15 years before your ovaries literally give up the ghost and die. And so all the crazy things that can happen. So we're going to go through that and why. And if you've been experiencing crazy things and you're in your late 30s, 40s, 50s and after, and you're like, what the heck? How what I my shoes don't even fit anymore, and maybe you're like, my mouth is burning or my skin is itching and this has never been this way before, then it could be symptoms of hormone changes from menopause or perimenopause. I love that. Hi, Regina. I love that. Who was it? That was the You Might Be a Redneck If Jeff Foxworthy. So you might be in menopause or you might be in perimenopause if like really weird things start happening to you and you have absolutely no explanation for it. And a lot of times these things aren't life threatening things. I mean, it's not like the things about menopause that are happening that you can't really see, like the heart disease or the broken bones, or the changes that are just happening at a cellular level. So a lot of these things, hi Constantina, a lot of these things are just what we would call a nuisance or annoying. And a lot of these things are just, I call it the canary in the coal mine. So it's a symptom of a larger process that's going on that can be life threatening. So having low hormones, going through perimenopause, going through menopausal changes, going through menopausal changes can be life altering. And some of these things the things I'm even going to talk to about tonight can be crippling. So I don't want to make light of them because things like burning mouth and changes in the gums and things like that can be very, very serious. But, it's not like the debilitating hot flashes. It's not like the debilitating weight gain. It's not like the heart palpitations. So we kind of know that those go along with perimenopause and menopause. But I just want to kind of speak to these things that maybe you've gone to the doctor and you've said, this is happening and I don't know why. And what can I do about it? And hi, Crystal. Hi, Carol. Hey, yay. Esther. Oh, Dana's here. Late. I love it. I love it. Okay. So these are things that you maybe have presented to the doctor, or you're just like, it's so weird that I can't even relate this to anything. Calves are tight today. Did you work out? Oh, they're not tight today. Oh, good, good, good. Okay. Hi, Crystal. So yeah, so these really strange things, but I'm going to explain what's causing them. Oh, not tight. Okay, good, good. What's causing them. And I just really want the end of tonight talking about all this stuff, mostly for you to not feel like you're crazy, because you're like, oh my gosh, all this really strange stuff is happening. And if you go to a doctor, they're going to be like, if you go with this list of really strange things, and like I've had almost everything on this list. So it's like, if you go into the doctor with these things, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. And some of these things they've never even heard of before. And so you just kind of feel like a little gaslighted, or a little bit like, nobody's going to listen to you anyway. And then if you try to tell your family, they're like, what? That's not even a thing. And it's really easy to feel crazy. I'm absolutely going to go over the list. So I'm going to get started now, and we'll break these down and I'll tell you everything. But I want to set the stage with what perimenopause and menopause is. So perimenopause is the 5 to 15 years before your ovaries literally die. And if I'm going to draw a graph, I would draw it like this. And I'm going to change my color here. So from birth to live to be 100, at 50 is about the age we go through menopause. So perimenopause can happen 30, 40, 45. And so what happens is our hormones at birth and puberty, they start rising and they fluctuate. And then about 40s, they go crazy. And then they start dropping off, and we literally flatline. So all of these weird things start happening with those hormone fluctuations, like right here. And then when we flatline, things get worse. And then we start into the really dangerous things that start happening to our bones, to our heart, to our cells that prevent things like cancer. And so I just want you to suspend tonight your fear of estrogen. And I have tons of videos. So if you go back and you watch my videos on my main page, you'll see so much education. And I talk all about hormones and cancer and prevention and heart disease. And so when I'm talking about bioidentical hormones, I'm talking about natural hormones, not synthetic hormones. They're very, very different. And I'm talking about the hormone protective effects. So as I talk through this, you're probably like, okay, get to it. Why are you talking about hormones and ovarian dysfunction and ovarian failure is really what's happening? You have to understand that all of this is hormone related. And so the main 3 hormones that we're going to talk about is estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Now, there are many others like DHEA and cortisol and a bunch of others, thyroid and everything, but that's the main 3. And those affect almost everything that we're talking about here. And the bottom line is we do not have to suffer. And so go back and watch my other videos if you haven't seen them about what bioidentical hormones are. And then I think you'll understand too with the decline what these things are and what's causing them. So number 1 is a really strange one called burning mouth syndrome. And this was probably 20 years ago. It was the first patient I ever had with burning mouth syndrome. And I thought, she was telling me my mouth is on fire. And I'm like thinking, like, what? I mean, because they don't teach you this stuff in med school. I mean, these aren't things that like maybe dental school, some of this stuff, right? And I'm like, your mouth is doing what? It's burning. If you guys have experienced any of these, put these in the chat if you would. I don't want you to reveal any medical information, but if you've had burning mouth or any of these things, so yeah, we can do the Dutch test. We usually start with the saliva test for the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And if you want to go to my link in bio, you can order a test kit. It's just a little over $100 with our Valentine's special. Or if you put the code TikTok20 in, you guys get the $20 off. But we start with this. And then once you get in our membership program, if that's something you decide that you want to do to get bioidentical hormones, then we can do the Dutch test. We can do blood spot tests for thyroid. We can do just about anything, all the things. But that's how we get you there and get you on track to do any kind of testing that you want. The Dutch test is super interesting, but it's really not vital to getting help. Body will not stop eliminating solid and liquid waste. So GI things can definitely be a problem. So we'll talk about that too. But yeah, so that's usually where we start. So go to hormonebliss.com and order a test kit, and then we can get you a Dutch test later if that's what you want to do. Okay, so burning mouth syndrome. So yeah, this lady, I was like, what the heck? You know, I've never heard of this. And so I'm looking it up, and this was like, I don't know, 23 years ago. And so there's not a whole lot on the internet back then. We still like almost had dial up back then. So it's like, now we can go find a bunch about burning mouth syndrome. So I was like, okay, well, tell me about that. And she's like, it feels like I just ate a bunch of citrus and a bunch of hot peppers, and it never calms down. And she's like, I even wake up in the middle of the night feeling like I had hot peppers. And like, only with hot peppers, it goes away after time, or you can drink milk and it gets better. Bleeding gums. Yes, 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 absolutely. So all of these changes, and I actually do have cavities, dry mouth, and receding gums and bleeding gums. So what happens is literally when your ovaries die, you stop making estrogen and everything in your body dries up. Your ovaries dry up, every tissue in your body starts to dry up, and your mouth starts to dry up. If you don't have the adequate mucus in your mouth, you can get dry mouth and burning mouth, because now those nerves are sensitized all the time. And if you're prone to any sort of neurological things, and that's another thing that can happen with menopause, is your sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system gets off track. And if you had any kind of neck injuries in your life, or you have inflammation, which progesterone is your body's natural anti-inflammatory, if you have any kind of neck injury or chronic neck pain, and that vagus nerve has had any kind of injury, your sympathetic nervous system is what triggers a response that can be protective, and it can also be a bit inflammatory. So inflammation isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you need a cortisol response to something, or if you have an immune reaction or autoimmune and your sympathetic nervous system's fired up, or you get nervous or an adrenaline rush, the parasympathetic nervous system calms that sympathetic nervous system down. So if you have activated nervous system all the time and you don't have the parasympathetics to calm it down, now you have a nerve sensitivity issue, and it can happen anywhere. It can happen with ringing in the ears. It can happen with neuropathy, which is nerve pain. It can happen anywhere in the body. And without progesterone to calm that parasympathetic system down, now everything is really heightened. Hi, Tacoma. So anything to do with the mouth. And another thing that happens too is our ability to absorb our nutrients, and the risk of having gut malabsorption, that can absolutely change the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system as well. And also, if you're not absorbing your nutrients and you're not eating healthy foods and citrus, and you're not getting vitamin C, or you're not taking vitamin C supplements, there's something called subclinical scurvy. And I think it's really interesting because the sailors back in the day who used to be out on the whale ships for like, I didn't realize they were out there for like 3 or 4 years at a time. That is just nuts to me. But they didn't have any citrus out there, and they would get scurvy, and they would, their gums would start bleeding, and they get bruises. So if you're getting gum bleeding or weird bruising, because our skin gets thinner as we age too, because without estrogen, we don't have that influence to keep our skin supple and fresh. And so vitamin C deficiency can actually cause gum bleeding, and the sailors would, like, their teeth would start falling out. So if you bleed when you floss, that can be a symptom too, that you either have a vitamin C deficiency or an iron deficiency can do that as well. And our guts don't absorb iron as well when we age as well. So And I see a lot of iron deficiency in my practice. And especially if it's during this perimenopause state, when your bleeding is really irregular or you're having heavy bleeding and you're losing a lot of iron. So that can also cause bleeding gums. And there's several other nutrients as well, some B vitamins and zinc as well. So those can be some nutrient deficiencies that you have. And a lot of that comes, it's like kind of like, it's so convoluted. What's causing what, right? So if your gut is impaired and you can't absorb your nutrients, and now you have estrogen that's affecting your gut, and estrogen that's pretty much everything is dried up because you don't have your estrogen now, you have just a recipe for disaster. So, absolutely. Okay, tingling extremities. That kind of feeds into this thought that you have the parasympathetic and sympathetic system as well. So, if you have any sort of stimulation of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic is not being calmed down by progesterone, or if you have an exaggerated cortisol response, which is what causes the cortisol belly, perimenopause and after menopause, then now you have this exaggerated cortisol response. You have a lot of inflammation going on, and the nerves can be triggered from that. And it's almost like a kind of think of almost like an agitation situation going on. So the nerves are just on fire. So it can be just a tingling sensation all the way to a neuropathy where it feels like pins and needles are poking your feet. If you guys are experiencing any of these, if you put it in the chat and just like, I kind of think it makes everybody feel like, oh, I'm not alone. This is a thing. This is really happening. And then one of the things that happens with neuropathy, which is very, very common, which is nerve pain, and it can be in the hands or the feet, is when you're not absorbing your nutrients, then you're not absorbing your B12. And B12 and folate are very important, as well as B6 for nerve health. And so if you don't have good, healthy nutrients going to your nerves, you're going to have neuropathy. And I see it all the time, B12 deficiencies. There are some people who have a genetic propensity to not be able to absorb B12. And I am just blown away by all the patients that have come to me over the years having neuropathy or nerve pain, and a doctor's never checked their B12 levels. So that is just madness to me. Another cause of nerve pain or neuropathy is low thyroid. And almost every woman that comes to me, perimenopause or menopause, is having some degree of thyroid dysfunction. And so also you get cold hands and feet with thyroid dysfunction. And now it's exaggerated because the temperature controls are messed up. And now you've got these nerves that are being stimulated to cold or hot. And the hypothalamus is then going to those nerves, and everything is just agitated. So, having any kind of neuropathy symptoms is super exaggerated by the cold and heat sensitivity in your skin, especially in your distal extremities, which is where you usually get the neuropathy symptoms. Also, a lot of people will get burning skin. Absolutely. So, burning skin is sort of that same thing. It's just all those nerves at the end of your skin nerve receptors are heightened. And the problem too is our skin starts to get really thin. And I'm 55, and I think I can hide a lot on my face, but it's like all the like skin changes on your hands, and it's like they're so thin, and it's like the blood vessels, get really thin, and you start to see all these little tributary things on there. And so if your skin is thinner, those nerves are also very friable because they're right at the surface of the skin. And so any sort of temperature changes or irritation, dry skin, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but for me, dry skin makes me really itchy, and that's some of the thinning of the dermal layers and the nerve irritation that's happening too. So, it's like, and I also think that part of the dry skin itching is because those cell layers, that epidermis, that top layer is so thin that those cells are just sloughing off so frequently, and then it's like your body's got this instinct to just try to get it off there. There is a great, and I have no like stock in this, but a couple of things I just like to share hints and tips with you guys when I think of them. There is a lotion called Amlactin, and it's a lactic acid lotion. Just get it on Amazon. I don't have any links right now, but it's Amlactin. It is amazing. It is so amazing for dry skin. It's like it's a little bit pricey, but I mean it is like it's super cool and just like helps with that itching and it's a little bit thick and it doesn't have the best smell. So I always put just a little bit of like some other kind of nice smelling lotion in it, but like especially for your hands, it's really good. And like I used to like have to go like pedicures like all the time because my feet would get so dry. And if you put it on your heels, it's awesome. Okay, so what was next? What's it called? It's Amlactin. You just get it on Amazon, but I will warn you, it is kind of stinky, but it's awesome. Okay, change in body odor. So, we know when we go through puberty and our hormones are fluctuating here in puberty, that we start to have those insomnia, anxiety. Yes, absolutely. And Rihanna, it's like I'm kind of talking about these weird, wacky things because we all know there's sleep disturbances. We all know there's hot flashes and all the things. So, absolutely, those are signs of fluctuating hormones and perimenopause for sure. But for sure, when we go through ovarian failure, which is when our ovaries are completely gone and dead and not working anymore. So, yeah. So unique odors. So that's part of it too. I think that's on my list is like a sensitivity to smell and that your smell sensitivities change. I know for me, and I'm on, my hormones are maximized. I check my levels. I'm on great hormones, but there are still these little things that we know are hormone related because minute to minute, our hormones do fluctuate. Even when we take bioidenticals, they still fluctuate. And so it's just like a lot of these little weird things, that just pop up and you're like, okay, once you know that this is part of these changes, you want to get your hormones maximized and balanced. But I mean, there's still just some weird things. So I just want to kind of make you guys not feel like you're crazy sometimes. But yeah, like smelling things, like sometimes I'll smell like a smoke smell and I'll think, what is that? And sometimes it's the litter box because I have 4 cats. But no, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not really kidding. But yeah, so weird smells though. Sometimes I'll get in the fridge. I'll be like, what is that? And then I'll ask my family, I'm like, do you smell that? And they're like, sometimes they're like, yeah, that's like the 12-day-old lasagna. And then sometimes they're just like, no, I don't smell anything. So sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But yeah, so the change in body odor is all hormonal, all shifts. Women actually have more testosterone than estrogen. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Men have a lot more testosterone than women, but women, apples to apples, have more testosterone than estrogen. And so, what happens if we were to put testosterone on this line? Testosterone always kind of stays there. Now, I have some women who have like no testosterone when we check. Yeah, the phantom smells have like no testosterone when we check them. But for the majority, most postmenopausal women have a little bit of testosterone. Now, for perimenopause, when you're fluctuating all over the place, all bets are off. Talking estradiol. Yes. So when we start to lose our estradiol levels, our estrogen levels, now our testosterone's a little bit higher. So it's almost like going through another puberty. They call it puberty in reverse. And so when we have a little more testosterone, but no estrogen or progesterone, which is what happens when our ovaries dry up, then now we start to have these weird body odors that we didn't have before. Or you have to change your deodorant because it's like that used to work and now that deodorant doesn't work anymore. And then you're scrambling to find the deodorant that works. So, yeah, so I mean, just like crazy. All of a sudden your deodorant stops working. Oh, I'll tell you too, I use a salt cube. And now this doesn't work if you're going to work out and get really sweaty, but it does help with the odor. And the thing I like about it, you get it on Amazon too. It's just, it looks like a salt, a block of salt. It's clear, it's like a crystal. But it works for the actual bacteria. So it's mineral salt. So it doesn't keep you from sweating. So if you sweat a lot, you could still have like the wet spots, but it does wonders for the body odor and it's great for like the groin area because that's another thing on the list is you start sweating in really weird places like in the groin, the bottom of your feet, the bottom of your hands. So that little crystal is great. And you get it on Amazon. It just kind of looks, it just put in deodorant crystal, but it's just a little clear block. It's pretty cool. Okay. Changes in body odor. Okay. Dry eyes. I did a video this morning as I was putting my makeup on. groin sweat. So go back and watch that video if you haven't seen it. I did it this morning. I was putting on my makeup and I was like, I'm so grateful to not have dry eyes as bad as they have been in the past. And in fact, one time I was going through, because hormones shift all the time, right? Which is why in our program, we constantly work with you to shift things. Dry eyes bad. Okay, so I totally agree. So I had to up my estrogen. And the sad thing is, doctors will tell you if you can even get them to test your hormones, or you can even get them to, give you some HRT of any kind. They're like, oh, we're just going to give you the very smallest amount possible because hormones cause cancer. And that is such crap because you need the amount that your body needs. And it's kind of like, the required amount of like nutrients that's in our food supply, and they're like the minimum daily allowance. That is not optimal. And just because you get your minimum daily allowance of vitamin E or D or whatever does not mean that that's optimal. And it's really interesting because our food supply chain has changed so much, and the people who govern how healthy our food supply is. And so one of the things about iodine and salt was that kids started having iodine deficiencies because we weren't eating the foods that had iodine in it. And so it was just like, let's put some iodine in the table salt, which is a whole nother story. Won't even go into that. But it's like just enough to prevent kids from getting goiters and to not have mental retardation. But that's not the optimal amount of iodine to make our thyroids work on a regular basis. So it's kind of like vitamin D levels. It's like, what's optimal? On the lab ranges, it says like to 50. Optimal is 100 on vitamin D ranges. So what's optimal for your estrogen and your progesterone is a lot more than that if you can just get a doctor to eke out a little bit of HRT for you. And you want it to be balanced, and you want it to be the bioidentical, and you want it to be not through the oral route, through the skin, which is what we do. So if you're having trouble getting a doctor to check your hormone levels, go to Hormone Bliss and order a saliva kit. And if you're not sure what saliva kit is, go back and watch some of my other videos on my page, and I have tons of videos to explain this stuff. But if you're feeling like this stuff is going on and you're feeling like you're crazy and you're like, I didn't even know that was a thing, definitely need to get your hormone levels checked. Your vitamin D level was 9. Oh my gosh, that might be, did you really say 9? That might be the lowest vitamin D level I think I've ever seen. Wow, bless your heart. So I hope you're on vitamin D now. You probably need prescription vitamin D for that. That's pretty low. So, and you probably also have a genetic defect called a VDR alteration. So if you want to get your genetics checked or whatever, but with that low, you're probably going to need to be on vitamin D forever. Because this is crazy. I have to go a little bit nerdy here, but your body takes vitamin D1 through the skin, and then D2 it converts into the kidneys, and then D3 through the liver. B12 for a 63-year-old. Okay, I'll go right there in a second. So about 10,000 IU of vitamin D a day is probably like if you have chronically low vitamin D, or do a prescription 50,000 or something like that once or twice a week. B12, if you absorb your B12, and after menopause, when these hormone changes happen, if you're not on bioidentical hormones and getting your hormones balanced, then you might not even be absorbing your B12. So what you're taking might not even be getting absorbed. So sometimes we'll tell people to do B12 injections or B12 sublingual under the tongue so that it goes straight into the bloodstream. But usually about 1,000 micrograms of B12 a day is enough to get your B12 levels up. And if you're having neuropathy, you might even need more. So when you check your B12 levels, also the levels, the amount that you take in micrograms, your levels are supposed to be about 1,000 as well. And so if you're having neuropathy symptoms, that can be an issue with that. We just talked about neuropathy. And here's a crazy thing about neuropathy too. For people who take a lot of supplements, getting too much B6 vitamin can actually trigger some neuropathy symptoms. It happened to me one time because I take a ton of supplements and I never added up all the amount of B6 that I was taking. And I felt like cold water was running down my ankles and my feet. So B12 and just had blood check and said cut it down. Yeah, so B12 is water soluble, and that means that it doesn't collect in the fat cells. And so if your body has too much or it doesn't need it, you will just urinate it out. So I don't really worry about the B12 getting real high, other than there are certain forms of B12 that have there are cyanocobalamin. So you want to get hydroxy B12 or methylated B12 because that cyano component is basically a cyanide molecule. It's like, well, a little cyanide's okay. I don't know how much cyanide is okay, but so you don't want to push those B12 levels really high if you're using a cyanocobalamin. And people are like, why would they use a cyanide molecule on B12? And it's not the whole cyanide molecule, it's just part of the molecule, but it has a real stabilizing factor. So, and it's cheap. So B12 on the shelf with the cyanocobalamin is B12 forever in perpetuity. I mean, it hardly ever goes bad. A hydroxy B12 or a methylated B12, the shelf life of that's probably about 7 to 9 months. And you're going to pay more for that. But I mean, why wouldn't you? Because those methyl and hydroxy groups actually allow it to get into the cell and do what it needs to do. So I feel a genetics talk coming on soon because I so nerd out about genetics, but I'll stop there. Okay. So did I get your question answered? I hope so. Okay. So I'm going to move on. So dry eyes. So I actually was having such a hard time with it and my vision was changing. And so it's like you almost feel like you're like new day, new time. Your hormones are changing so much. And I had a lot of hormone issues my whole life. So moving into perimenopause, moving into menopause, I was just a hot mess and I was constantly chasing, trying to get my hormones balanced, right? And like I'm the hormone girl. I mean, this is what I do. So I have a real understanding of how hard it can be to get it balanced. And I think God does things for us and not to us because all of this was awful. And I feel like it was done for me so that I can help you guys. And so our protocols, when we help you guys with bioidentical hormones, we help you get that balance. And giving you the power is part of the educational process, which is why I do this every night. Well, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at 7. Now I've kind of backed off a little because my family likes to spend time with me. But okay, so yeah, sometimes I like to spend time with me, sometimes not. No, I'm just teasing. Well, sort of, yeah. But so there's just a lot of fluctuations that happen. So I believe that everything I've been through, endometriosis, fertility issues, PCOS, ovarian dysfunction, I just really feel like I can relate. And just having these fluctuations and having these weird things, I mean, I haven't had all of them, but I certainly have had some degree of some of these at one time. So I just want you to know that there is help and you can get on bioidentical hormones and it helps so much. And our bodies fluctuate all the time. Our stress levels, our cortisol levels change. And so it's really important that you are able to sort of work with and regulate and understand what these changes are. And not only just having bioidentical hormones on board in your body, but also knowing that lifestyle changes are important. Eating food with a lot of preservatives and the endocrine disruptors can be just messing everything up. So it's really hard to maintain that balance, even if you are taking your bioidentical hormones. And, then you're doing things and you're not taking care of yourself and, you're having a lot of stress or you're not exercising and doing all the things you should be doing. What are we doing? We're talking about all the crazy, weird, wacky symptoms of menopause that a lot of people don't even know are happening. Have to take melatonin every night or I'm not sleeping. So I don't know if you're on bioidenticals, but bioidentical progesterone cream is amazing and it will get you sleeping. Melatonin is good because our melatonin levels naturally drop, but estrogen actually, when it drops, your melatonin levels drop because estrogen stimulates the gland in the head that makes you make melatonin. So without estrogen, you don't have that. Burning mouth due to my anxiety. Yeah, anxiety can absolutely make burning mouth worse. And estrogen and not having hydration in the mouth is one of the main things that sets those nerves on fire. But anxiety can make it work. I'm in. And yeah, so if you don't have enough estrogen and all that mucosa is drying out in there, it's going to absolutely be worse. So estrogen makes a huge difference. Okay, so I'll stay with dry eyes for a minute. So we do PRF in our office, or PRP if you're familiar with that, which is where you draw your own blood and then you spin it. And then I inject it into joints. I mean, I've injected it into gums to help women regrow gums when they've had gum problems. I need your tea because I'm scared. Okay, don't be scared. You guys who are my tribe, put in the comments, don't be scared. Please do that for her. And then go to my link in bio and download some freebies that I have, some books that I've written. And I promise you that you won't be scared anymore. So you should be scared of synthetic hormones that you take by mouth. You should absolutely be terrified of those. They're petrochemicals that are made off of products literally from natural gas. And there's a long story in there. You can go watch some of my other videos. You should be scared of those. But bioidentical hormone creams are life-changing, and they do not go through the liver. And that is estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. We test first to make sure what you need. And go to hormonebliss.com if you want to get some help with that. And it all starts with a test, and you see what's going on with you. So, but yeah, so dry eyes, absolutely crippling sometimes. And so as my vision was starting to change, I went to the eye doctor one day, and I literally was in there almost 3 hours, and they kept trying contacts because I wanted contacts, and they kept trying contacts, and none of the contacts would work. And they're like, okay, well, just take this pair home that's the closest and come back in 2 weeks. Try to wear them, see if your eyes will acclimate. And like I couldn't see a thing. So I didn't wear the contacts, and I did have like long distance vision glasses. They weren't really working any very well anymore, but so I was like, okay, at least I can wear those for driving. And then my eyes were changing close up. And so finally I went to another eye doctor because I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't like keep spending all this time. And then they tried to make me bifocals, and those didn't work. And so another eye doctor that I went to looked at my eyes, and she said, "You have dry eyes." And I was like, I do. I didn't even know. And so it like was so gradual. And so once I started like treating my dry eyes and getting my estrogen levels up, like it's a lot better. Now, still sometimes when I wake up in the mornings, I do have to use some eye drops. And there's some eye drops called Blink, Blink, I think it is. And I like those, and I'll use those. And then sometimes I will use eye drops that are the whitening drops. The can't remember what they're called, but like if you have, a little bit of a yellowing to your eyes, maybe a little bit of liver changes over the years, a few birthdays under a belt, I like the whitening drops too. But a lot of times when I first wake up in the morning, I will put a little bit in there, my eyes. I also had a blepharoplasty, so like cutting the skin off the top of your eyes so my eyes don't close as well. But estrogen is so, so important. I actually was talking to several compounding pharmacists one time about making some estrogen eye drops, and I couldn't find anybody who would do it. So I haven't stopped looking because I think that would be amazing. The problem is finding someone, because eye drops have to be sterile, and finding someone who can do the sterile drops like that. So if you guys know anybody who does estrogen eye drops, that'd be cool. Direct message me. Let me know. That'd be awesome. Because I looked. That would be so cool. And if it's not out there, maybe I'll figure out a way to do it, because I think that would be a game changer, especially for people who are still, quote, scared of hormones, right? Because if you've got this symptom that's like crippling, something we could do. Suffer dry eyes, change vision. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It does change your vision. So what I did was I upped my estrogen because I was like, okay, I have dry eyes, and it made a huge difference. I still haven't gone back and tried to get contacts yet, just because I had a bad experience, and it was like 3 hours trying to match contacts. So But that leads into vision changes as well. Absolutely. Altered taste. So it's kind of like, like the past couple of years, the virus that we don't speak of had the you couldn't taste or smell kind of thing. And sometimes that happens, especially with dry mucosa in the nose or in the mouth. And some people will start to, and that's one of the things on here too, is allergy symptoms because your body will overproduce saliva or overproduce nasal mucosa, or you'll even tear up in your eyes. And you're like, no, I'm watering. I'm like, like icky. But it's kind of like your body is trying to overproduce because for the most part, it's staying dry. And so, yeah, so having that hydration, estrogen is what promotes the cells to both store and release water. So, chronic dehydration is what causes the dry skin, which is what causes, they call it the tinting. So, that, just really thin skin and the dehydrated skin is a big part of that too. Joint pain and aches, my tribe that's here all the time, you guys hear me say frozen shoulder all the time. So frozen shoulder is almost 70 to 90% of all frozen shoulder, unless you've had an injury like a sports injury or something like that. But if shoulder pain just out of the blue happens, you haven't had an injury and you can't hardly move your shoulder, and we call it AB adduction, which is like abduction is this motion, adduction is this motion. But if it's this motion, yeah, frozen shoulder, not fun. That is a lack of estrogen to lubricate the joints. And I I feel like, okay, this is funny. I have no scientific backing for this. So what I'm about to say, just like, oh, Tammy's crazy. Okay, that's a thing. But yeah, so you're losing the things that lubricate the joints. So here's the part that I have no scientific backing for. We know scientifically that most frozen shoulder that's non-traumatic happens in women over the age of 40 or 50 after perimenopause and menopause. The part I don't have any science to back is I call it purse shoulder because we're carrying these freaking heavy. Look at this bag I carry every day that's got my computer and everything in it. I'm like, I'm surprised I don't have frozen shoulder all the time. Knock on wood, right? I shouldn't even say that. But I am, really careful about kind of shifting and making sure that I'm not straining anything. But absolutely frozen shoulder and all joint pain. I also notice that if I eat a lot of sugar or carbs, and then the next day I'll wake up and feel kind of like the Tin Man. So a couple things that you can do are watch your sugar intake, watch your chemicals, your preservatives, your MSG, things like that. And then anything you can take like fish oil, MCT oils, anything that can lubricate your joints and your skin. And also just anti-inflammatories like turmeric. And we have in my link in bio, we have, there's a bunch of free downloads. You can get informational, educational stuff. And then there's a shop section. And in that shop section, we have a joint supplement that's got collagen, hyaluronic acid, turmeric, and a bunch of other vitamins in it. It is freaking amazing. We can't even keep it in stock in our office. So if you go there, it's called Joint Ease. Go order some. We have a 100% money back guarantee. If it doesn't work for you, you just return it. But it's not, it's amazing. So if you have joint pain, go get some of that. Organic olive oil cold press. Yes, yes, yes. Olive oil is great. Don't cook with, is it coconut oil you don't cook with? Yeah, olive oil you don't cook with. You put olive oil on salads. Don't cook with olive oil because it can break down into problematic chemicals that can cause more inflammation. So be careful with that. Okay, so joint pain and aches, weird dreams. So if you have never had this problem, now a lot of people when they start taking melatonin can have weird dreams because it's a different level of sleep where you stay a little more superficial. Progesterone is a deep sleep. So progesterone is amazing and you'll sleep through the night, and you have to make sure that you push the dose enough to do that. So don't be afraid to work with your doctor or work with us to get your progesterone levels up so that it's a deeper sleep. Melatonin sometimes can cause you to have a little bit more superficial sleep. And so when you wake up in the morning, like you remember your dreams. Not that they were more weird or vivid, but you just remember them more. So yeah, weird dreams. OCD. I'm the queen of OCD, but I've always had it. And I think it's part of being type A. It's like double checking everything, and being in medicine and being a doctor, it's like I double, triple check everything, calling in scripts. I'm like, I have to make sure this is right. I can't mess anything up. Just very obsessive about getting things done correctly, because sometimes people's life depends on it, right? But one of the things that happens with a new onset OCD or worsening onset OCD after menopause is that you just have this obsessive thinking. Mine's crazy, and I developed autoimmune. Absolutely. So the stomach, leaky gut, the triggers, autoimmune all starts in the gut, and the gut flora changes with hormone changes. So absolutely, Mealy, if you're not on any bioidentical hormones, let us help you. Go get your test kit on hormonebliss.com, or go to our link in bio, and we can help you with all of that, which is amazing. So is estradiol patch natural, generic, and brand name, which is best? Estradiol patch, normally, unless it's the combo one, is estradiol, which is bioidentical, and they have like the Vivel dot and all those, so they're all bioidentical. I need to fix it. My docs won't do labs on me. Okay, Millie, we will. Go to hormonebliss.com or go to my link in bio, and you can order a test kit, and we will test your hormones and tell you what's up and make a plan to get you on some bioidentical hormones. So yeah, and it's a little over $100 right now. Use the code TikTok20. It takes $20 off at checkout. So, and it's only $129 anyway, but that takes $20 off. What's the cost of the test kit and hormones? Oh yeah, so my moderator, my beautiful fiance, will put that in. So you just go to hormonebliss.com. It's $129, but if you use the code TikTok20, it takes 20 off of that. So it's only $109. Yeah, go get your test kit. Okay, so OCD. So one of the things that I'll often do is patients who come to see me in my clinic will talk about some medications that work well with estrogen. So if you have a primary care doctor, you might even ask for Lamictal, which is a prescription. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it was originally designed for seizures. So it's almost like having seizures when we have these OCD, obsessive thinking and worrying things. But getting the hormones balanced is the most important thing, because it really minimizes that. And of course, self-care and things like that. Is that safe? The Lamictal, is any pharmaceutical safe? Bioidenticals are the only thing that I can say is safe. And because we have no ovaries after menopause, and I think it's really a great time to start in perimenopause so that you don't have all those fluctuations as you're easing into menopause. But Lamictal is it's been around for like 40 or 50 years. So, and it's generic. And I have some patients who just have real trouble with that obsessive thinking. There's also an over-the-counter supplement called ashwagandha, and it can be really helpful with some of that. And then also 5-HTP and SAMe can be really good for that too. SAMe, and so that's something that you can try too. Please see my post above that. Sometimes I don't see all the posts. Sorry. Yeah, put that back through if you would. Would the tests qualify for health savings account purchase? Absolutely, Beth. Absolutely. When you go do that, I'm thinking there is a place on there to do that. If you want to email us at info@hormonebliss.com, if there's any challenges, I think you just use it like a credit card when you go to buy. So yeah, just put the health savings card number in. And if you have any problem when you go to order the kit, then just when you go to hormonebliss.com, our number's on there. You can call us or you can email us, and we'll make sure that we get that through with your HSA card. And then the plan is to get you on some bioidentical hormones. So absolutely, Felino, is that safe? Felino. But yeah, so we do health plan savings accounts for sure. I'm not sure. Maybe you're talking to, you said Valeno. I think you might have been talking about the Lamictal, which is a prescription for actually it's a seizure medication, but it works really well with estrogen and obsessive compulsive stuff with menopause estrogen decline. Okay, so cavities, dry mouth. We kind of talked about that a little bit. Receding gums, and one time I had trouble with receding gums. I tell you all my little crazy stories. Um, and I went to the dentist, and dentist charged me like $300, just a new dentist. Look in my mouth, and I had like my gums were receding, and I was like, "This is getting really bad." And so he basically said, "Well, we're probably going to have to do a gum transplant on you." And I was like, "Okay." So I upped my estrogen. Things got better. It still was bad. I'm like, I do not want a gum transplant. And so I just realized I was brushing too hard. So I got an automatic toothbrush, this little spinny head, not a bit of trouble since. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that was such a simple thing. Like, why didn't that dentist tell me that? Well, I don't go to that dentist anymore, clearly. Okay, board number two. We only have two boards tonight, which is good because we're almost out of time. So I'm going to kind of go through these fast and hope that board doesn't hit me in the head. Laser surgery for gums. Yeah, I gratefully did not have to go to laser surgery on my gums, but just I was brushing too hard. That was for me, but that's not for everybody. But that was the thing with me. Excessive sweating in weird places. We already talked about that, hands, feet, groin. And it's mostly because it's sort of like in puberty. We have these estrogen and hormone receptors that are being dried out, basically. So, and imbalanced because we have a little bit more testosterone than estrogen. So now we're having like androgen type sweating places, like teenage boys sweat, right? So, nail thinning and weird lines. So if you're getting like where your nails just like have these weird Bose lines through them, that can be from estrogen and progesterone deficiency as well. Hair thinning, change in texture, color, gray. It's time for me to go get my roots done, but it's crazy because like there's nothing we can do about the gray, but and cat whiskers, yes, absolutely. Your hair starts growing in places where it's not supposed to be, and it's not growing in places where it's supposed to grow, and you're losing hair. Different texture, it's curly, it's wiry. Gray hair is always more wiry anyway. But yeah, thinning. Almost every woman through menopause, her hair thins. Plus, there's also thyroid and iron absorption. Yeah, white spots or even the little lines, and that's all metabolic because your body's literally drying out from the inside out. Um, Allergies and histamine flares. So, histamine are the chemicals in your body that normally come when your immune system is being triggered and calm everything down. But then histamine has also got a mechanism where the lines in my nails head. Yeah, yep. So get on some hormones. That will help a lot and help balance your thyroid and metabolic syndrome and all the things that come with that too. So it's not overnight when you get on hormones. Taking my hormone test tomorrow morning. Yes, yes, I love it. Yay, I'm so excited. It's not overnight, but this is the long play, right? This is to get your hormones maximized to where these crazy things aren't happening, or at least not happening as much. But yeah, so histamine, like taking an antihistamine when you have allergies or like you're sneezing all the time, is this histamine response is flared by low estrogen. Take the test at a certain time of month. Merely, if you're still having cycles, it is kind of all over the place. So you can't even really sometimes even know like what time of the month. Sometimes they will say like during the follicular phase, which is in the first 11 days of your cycle. Yay, Amelie, I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm seeing the orders go off. I have a little app on my phone, so I see when you guys order. That's awesome. But yeah, especially in perimenopause when you are fluctuating all over the place, you can check anytime. And because the saliva test measures the amount of hormones in your actual cells, it's not like if you like need to do a blood test because you're taking oral synthetic hormones or something like that. So, and you can even be on BHRT or HRT as well. See the replay. Oh, Sherry, I'm glad you're here now. Yeah, I'll try to post it. I have one that I did the other night. I think it was the cholesterol one or the liver No, it was the uterus one. And for some reason, it's like really slow replay. Kit states not to use anti-aging cream 3 days prior. Yes, some anti-aging creams do have a little bit of a low dose estrogen in it. So you know what? If that's something, I know it says that, if that's something you use on a regular basis, I don't think you need to stop it because we need to see what you're using and what you're doing. So if we're going to get you on some bioidentical creams and you want to continue to use that face cream, then we don't want to change those variables up, right? So if we wanted to know your baseline without anything, then that would be the case. But go ahead and put that in the line where it says, are you on anything? Just put it there and the lab won't kick it out or anything. But when our coaches look over everything, they'll see that and they'll be like, okay, stay with that. Yes, yes, yes. What if you have a Mirena IUD? So I'm not a fan of the Mirena because it's got the synthetic progestins, which is actually part of the arm that, so in the WHI study in 2002, there was an estrogen arm and there was a estrogen and progestin, which are synthetic estrogen and synthetic progestins. And it wasn't even the estrogen arm that got shut down. It was the estrogen and progestin. So it was a synthetic progesterone, progestin, synthetic version of it that got that arm of the study shut down. So it's like, I don't know why estrogen gets the bad rap because it's not even the estrogen that's like created all that buzz, right? And that study was just, it was crap on every level. But anyway, it's like if we're going to be afraid of estrogen, of hormones causing cancer, it's not even the estrogen, it's the synthetic progestin. So anyway, just kind of another little thing there. But the Mirena IUD has synthetic progestins in it. And yeah, most women who use it, they don't have periods anymore because that synthetic progestin is so, like, it's so aggravating to the uterus. And but I also understand not wanting to bleed. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you're using it for birth control, I would have that taken out and put a copper IUD that doesn't emit the synthetic progestins. But it's, oh, but your question was probably, I'm sorry, I might have missed that. Can you be on the Mirena IUD and get your saliva test done? You absolutely can. That's no problem because it's mostly localized there in the uh, lower part of the uterus. So it's fine. Yeah, you can be on that. Okay, a few more things. I know I'm almost out of time. Itching hands and feet. I think we covered that. Chemical sensitivities. Your liver is so dependent. Oh, you're so welcome. Your liver is dependent on your hormone conversions and having low levels of toxins. We have a few birthdays under our belt. Our liver's not clearing toxins as much, and we're going to have chemical sensitivity, smells, candles, cologne, strong colognes. We can't tolerate that. Alcohol, drinking wine. We used to be able to drink a lot. Now we can't because our livers can't process it. So estrogen absolutely helps with that. Skin tags, age spots, those little cherry spots, they call them birthday presents to your skin, those popping up because estrogen has lost its influence in the lower dermal layers. And now you have all sorts of crazy things happening. Digestive problems because the microbiome, the bacteria in your gut change. Itchy hands is basically the thinning of the skin, and some of it can be histamine response from low estrogen as well, and some of that's dry skin, and some of that's nerve changes from the parasympathetic sympathetic system, which progesterone regulates that. So there's a lot of different variables there, but and sometimes it's a low cortisol level because you have those fluctuations that change as well. So hope that answered that. A lot of different things. The answer is to get on some bioidentical hormones. And the amlactin is a good lotion for that too. Okay, sunlight sensitivity. So maybe your skin, like you get out in the sun and you get out in the sun and it's like you instantly burn because you just have such a thin epidermal skin layer. And then sometimes, oh, they're telling me my time is up. I know, I'm hurrying. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. They make me do this little thing saying that I'm going to finish my talk in a minute. Good, good, good. Yes, order. Okay. sunlight sensitivity, but that can also be from dry eyes too. And I've always just had to wear sunglasses all the time. So it's great. Thank you, Carol. Oh, I saw THC levels are high. I'm 61. So one of the reasons that your DHEA level could be high is because we make more androgens or male hormones like DHEA and testosterone in our adrenal glands, and our liver can actually convert more. And when we have belly fat, we actually convert more of our androgens. So DHEA and testosterone can absolutely be higher after menopause. And the way you balance that out is to get on some estrogen and progesterone, get your levels checked, and then get all that balance. So because high androgens can cause all sorts of problems. Is compounded progesterone okay versus the creams? So our creams are compounded. So we have some of them are combos. Most of the time we do estrogen, progesterone, DHEA. And then sometimes we'll do an additional testosterone or additional DHEA or pregnenolone or something like that. Compounded progesterone just means it comes from a prescription at a compounding pharmacy. But so versus the creams, it's still kind of the same thing. Okay, a few more things. Change in foot size. I actually did that in my little intro a while ago. And mostly that's from swelling, edema, CT scan. Not sure about the CT scan. But yeah, shoe size changes can be from weight gain as well. But a lot of times there's the liver actually has a blood vessel that runs through it called the portal vein. And as you start to get liver changes and fatty liver and congestion in the liver, you can start to get hemorrhoids and varicose veins. And then you can also have part of that is swelling in your feet, which can then cause your shoe size to go up. So lots of different things. And then, like I said, hormone or hemorrhoids and varicose veins from that portal congestion. And a lot of that can be from those issues too. Adrenal gland CT scan because of high DHEA. Yeah, if it's really high, they will look at your adrenal glands because your adrenal glands make most of your DHEAS, the sulfated version. So sometimes they'll suspect an adrenal tumor or something like that. So that was a good move for them to do that. Because if you have a tumor, that's a whole nother ball game, right? 256. Okay, yeah. So I hope somebody's working that up for you. So definitely. Okay, sensitivities to noise, light sleeper, more awareness of sounds. It's kind of like any noise in my room, any kind of rustling, the cat's meowing outside, any movement, my fiance, it's just like super, super sensitive to stuff. Ringing in the ears, and that can be from changes like loud noises over your lifetime. And then you have these nerve sensitivities. And then without estrogen, you don't have the healing properties to those nerve cells. So estrogen is very regenerative, very healing, and super important to not completely dry up on every part of your body. Subject is all things weird, wacky symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. And I'm so sorry, Casey. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at 7. So we're at the end, but I will post the replay if you want to see all the weird, wacky things about perimenopause and menopause. So I'm going to hop off here because my hour is up, but I'm glad you came in, Casey, and come back. Let's see, what is this Wednesday? Friday night. If that would cure my tinnitus, I'll try it. Now, I won't cure it overnight, but we definitely want to get things balanced and it will help it. And there are some different supplements that our coaches can recommend as well, and some things we can do for that. So I don't want to tell you, we'll get you on hormone creams and your tinnitus will go away overnight, but definitely it's not going to get better if you don't do something about it. So we can work with you that for sure. Okay. Go to hormonebliss.com or go to my link in bio. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yay. And get you a test kit and let us see what your labs are, and then make a plan to get you on some bioidentical, safe, effective, life-changing and life-saving hormones. Do not dry up and waste away, and do not deal with all these symptoms because a lot of people have a lot of these symptoms and by themselves they seem kind of annoying, like skin tags and age spots and chemical sensitivities and weird smells and burning feet or whatever, but altogether it is life changing and can be absolutely maddening and miserable. And then you have all these little things that add up and you're miserable and nobody wants to be around you and you don't want to be around anybody. So take your life back. do your research, go watch all my videos, all my crazy talking about strange stuff. My claim is always that if you watch my videos, you'll learn at least one crazy new thing that you didn't know. And my claim is always, if you don't learn one new thing on my videos, I'll give you a free hormone kit. So, so go get your hormone kit, get your hormones tested, and let us help you get your life back and at least make your life smoother and better for you and everybody in your family and everyone you know. Okay, I love you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you back Friday night at 7. Direct message me if you have any questions or if I didn't get anything answered that you had tonight. And I answer all my own DMs. So give me a holler if you need anything. Okay. I love you. Love you. Bye.